I was listening to the story about, it was a story of a family in Washington, and the little boy called the Bigfoot the Cowboy Man. And he had, apparently it had made an effort to steal this kid. And it hit me. My children were in that playpen behind me with nothing but a mosquito net over them. It could have crept up behind me and taken both of my children, and I wouldn't have known.
Father just got like a Mustang or something from Wyoming, okay? He had it out in the corral because he couldn't put it in the barn in the stalls with the other horses because it would kick and made all the other horses nervous. Had a Seminole Indian working the horse trying to break it every day. So they had it out in the corral. This skunk ape snuck up behind this horse and grabbed it on its hindquarters. This particular horse kicks out, jumps over the corral, runs into the pasture, to get away. At this point, the rancher's out there just blasted away with the dirty. Skunk ape runs into the swamp.
I went up there one day after that, or 2 days after that. I went up there and sat in silence up there, and I'm telling you, man, it was free. It was crazy. There was a crazy vibe up there still. I did what I could to kind of get things under control, but I told her, I said, you need to get off this property. I feel like no matter how strong you are, it's almost like standing in the ocean. You can't stand still without moving your feet. You're going to get knocked over eventually, no matter how strong, whatever. You can't withstand a barrage of weird spiritual energy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Paranormal Odyssey. Am I echoing?
Nope.
I hear an echo.
It's just you, friend.
All right, what's up, everybody? Glad to be back. I'm echoing. What the hell is going on?
I don't hear your echo. It's just in your ears. There's a reverb somewhere.
Audience, do y'all hear an echo? It's going to drive me absolutely crazy.
Now say something.
What about now? Yes.
Are you echoing off of
We were not echoing the whole time before the show.
Well, it's not my setup, and guess what? It ain't yours neither. Because you're brand spanking new, baby.
You're
I am resending our guest the link for the show because his link is broken.
What is it now saying?
It's always an adventure when you have paranormal guests on.
Wayne barely audible?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, we're going to take this second to try to get all of these bugs. This is driving me freaking crazy. Everything I'm saying is echoing, and it was not doing that before we came on.
Right.
What about?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me better, Naomi? What about you, Tiffany?
Yeah, I mean, you've always sounded okay to me.
My echoing just stopped.
Welcome back to the party, buddy.
Yeah, it just completely.
Whoa, you were really loud. I had you turned up.
No echo, but harder to hear.
Now I think you're louder. I think you're louder now to me.
Okay, well, guys, our guest is not backstage just yet, so we're going to take an extra second. Like Tiffany said, I'm on a brand new setup. The new computer came in today. Tiffany and I have the exact same computer now. We're both on the brand new iMac, courtesy of Paranormal World Productions. Bought the computer through our work account, so shout out to Danny and Brian for hooking me up with a brand new computer. Thank you, guys. Yeah, Bristol says no echo, volume getting better. Let's see if this makes a difference. What about now?
No, Bristol said you're 100% before you did that. Troy said much better.
Much better.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So, sorry about that, guys. We have to use y'all as our guinea pigs because, before we come on, it's just her and I, and we sound perfect to each other. We don't know what it sounds like to you guys.
And Patrick has the link. The link is working fine. It is his computer, just like the last time we had him on. It's letting him click on the link. It's just not allowing him to access the
It's some kind of paranormal thing that they're just messing with them.
Yeah, his camera won't come on.
Okay, well, he can keep working on that. We'll pay the bills and everything. Also, guys, if y'all have noticed, there's a little bit of background music going. Let me know if y'all can hear that as well. And if it's too loud, if it's just right, if you don't like it, if you like it, just we're just playing around, trying to offer you guys some options. But let us know if you can hear that music. Okay.
Roger said he has audio but no camera, so I told him we can work it however he wants to work it.
He don't have to have a camera.
Yep.
I mean, we would like to see his face, but
Bristol said he doesn't hear the music at all.
Well, let's see if we can fix that. Because Tiffany, can you hear it, Tiffany? You're the one that's saying it was too loud.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I have supersonic hearing. I can hear a rat fart 10 miles down the road.
What about that, y'all? Because I could barely hear it before, too. Y'all let me know. Is it much louder for you, Tiffany?
Yeah, I mean it's still fine though.
Waiting on. There is again. There what is again?
Oh, shooty pooty. I forgot to take that down.
Alex can hear it. Mr. Tiffany says it's louder now. Rat fart. You can hear a rat fart.
I can hear a rat fart freaking 10 miles down the road.
What does a rat fart sound like since you can hear them?
Well, I guess.
Is it like ours?
God, I hope not. That poor rat would explode. I guess it's just a little whisper. I don't know.
Like a pop fart.
Yeah, the pop farts. Yeah, exactly. Just a pop and a whistle.
Naoma's saying the clapping sound is back. I wonder if it's the music that you're hearing, Naoma.
I didn't know anything was clapping.
Because she said it stopped when I stopped the music, and now that I've started it back. There, see, it started again.
You're hearing the hi-hat.
Yeah, she can barely hear the music. That's what it is. Has to be. Let's cut it up a little more. Has anybody even told us if they can hear it?
Yes.
Yeah, Bristol says I hear it now. It's a nice drum beat.
See, Chris said sounds good.
I'm just going to... There, it's at 50% now. Our guest is backstage, so we should stop playing around.
Yeah, he's backstage. His background won't work. It's a green screen, but we will take him with a green screen.
That'll work. All right. I'm just going to cut this down.
Okay.
All right, let's pay some bills. Would you like?
Well, we ain't got a choice there, buddy.
There you go. If you are new to the show, we are so glad to have you. Please do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate it. Help us to continue to grow the show, head in the right direction. Yeah, tell your mama and them, your friends, tell them to hit subscribe. Thank you.
Also tell your mom and them, if they want to be on our show with me and Wayne, that they need to get on it, because we have already filled up 2 dates for August. And if you remember, I listed every single guest that we have from now through the 2 that I have booked in August. So, but if you've had an encounter and would like to come on with us, you can reach out to him, Wayne at paranormalworldproductions.com, or me, Tiffany at paranormalworldproductions.com.
Guys, you get a chance, head over to paranormalworldproductions.com. Check out the website, all the other shows under the studio's umbrella. Pick you up some merch, join in on the blog, sign up for the newsletter. All of that good stuff you can find at paranormalworldproductions.com.
And if you have questions for our guest, which incidentally, I went back to his first show that we did. I went through the whole entire chat for the show and picked up the questions that were not able to get into last time. And I took
Look at you.
I'm telling you, I am moving up in the world.
You are going that extra mile. I had no idea you did that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool.
I'm a barrel full of surprises. You never know.
But it might all be for naught since he's not here anymore.
Oh, dang it. I didn't even realize he disappeared. Well, if he comes back on and you have a question, just put it in all capital letters. We highlight them, pull them at the end of the show, and then we do a rapid fire question answer session. So we will get to that as well.
Yeah, it looks like he's back. Real quick, guys, if you are interested in joining my group, Manimal Research, there's a Facebook group, Manimal Research. Head over there and join that. We would love to have you. But as I was saying, if you're interested in getting out in the woods and doing some research, looking into them, maybe becoming a member of Manimal's research team, I'm going to try to amp that up, get back out in the woods some more, and looking for some good people in your area. If you've had activity, if you live in a spot that is pretty good, or you're close to a spot and you're interested in becoming a member of Manimal and getting out there and representing our group, we would love to talk to you about that. But head over to Manimal Research on Facebook. We would love to have you. All right. Well, we can't talk about the giveaway because that is done. Again, congratulations to Super Shania. We have contacted her. Miss Tiffany got a hold of her. And so, what's going on there? I know you told me before some of her stuff's already been sent to her, right?
Yes, I contacted Miss Naomi Finn and Mr. Brian, and Naomi Finn sent her book out the other day, and Brian sent his out this past Thursday. I was going to send her book out today, and I actually sent her an email to that effect, and then I found out the post office closed at 12 because it's Saturday, so I'll mail it Monday. But she's currently in Scotland. Her and her husband are traveling, so she's in Scotland currently visiting family, so she has everything forwarded to her address. So she's excited.
And I have not picked up her Yeti cooler just yet. Was going to wait until we receive the funds from the YouTube funds on the 21st. I will pick it up then, and I'll get it out to her that day. And I'll probably go ahead and order her t-shirt and get sent to her. But yeah, that giveaway was awesome. It took a little bit longer than we anticipated to get done, but it got done. And y'all be on the lookout. We will be doing some more of those coming up. But we still want you to sign up. If you have not signed up, taking the opportunity to become a member, it's $1.99 a month. You get access to all the free stuff, an extra show, the Discord, all that cool stuff. It's just $1.99 a month. So we hope that you will take advantage of that. All right. We need to get to our guest.
Yes,
Tiffany.
I've been looking forward to having him back on. Like I said, I watched that interview again today, and I was like, oh dang, I forgot he done said that. And I was like, okay. So yeah, because we had at the end of that, we had started talking about, missing person cases, and we were just getting into it. And then we were already an hour and 45 minutes into the show. So I am ready to get him back on. And if you didn't see the first one or listen to the first podcast, definitely go back and check that out, because Patrick's amazing. He has amazing stories. His books are out. And in that, he details everything that he has gone through thus far. And also 2 months ago when he was on, he had started working on a third book. So, but we're going to find out more about that.
Yes, we are. If you guys are ready, we are going to go ahead and bring out Mr. Patrick. It looks like he is ready to go. Did y'all hear that?
It was the ghost.
Did you hear a notification?
No.
Okay, good.
And I didn't hear a rat farting either, so we're good. Let's go.
All right, let's get Mr. Patrick out. Patrick, what's up, buddy? How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for being patient as I got logged on and stuff working finally. I had to go ahead and log into my own StreamYard account or nothing would work. So I never had that happen before, but
it's them ghosts, man.
I'm telling you, it is paranormal activity at the highest degree.
It's working now, so that's the good part. But
absolutely, we should be good to go now. If you don't mind, Patrick, as we said before, you were on a little while back. Had a really good episode with you. If you don't mind, remind everyone a little bit about yourself. Just a brief introduction.
Okay. I have written technically 4 books right now, but 2 of them are first editions and they are not in print right now. The second editions are. I could go on and do third editions. But I've written Nightmare in Holmes County and 225th Street, which are available right now as second editions. There are quite a few chapters added to each book from the original versions. Original book, 225th Street, was written first in 2011. Nightmare in Holmes County was, I think, 2015 or 2016 when that released. Both of them now released as second editions in 2021. And I am working on, these books are about my real life experiences in 2 consecutive yet unrelated haunted houses. I had 2 houses back to back. The hauntings were completely unrelated. And I had to deal with that. And I felt like for that to happen is pretty rare. And I felt like I experienced it, so I would share my story with others because when you go through a situation like that, it can be life-threatening in multiple ways. It can ruin your whole life or it can kill you. There's cases in 225th Street that people died. And I believe wholeheartedly that it was related to the house. And so it's a very dangerous situation. I am working on my next book, which is called Shadows and Light, Volume 1. There will be multiple volumes, but these will be about personal cases that I worked on that were not my house. These were other people's houses, or people in general that had needed deliverance. Honestly, from the time I signed the contract to begin Shadows and Light, begin working on it, it was immediate. I began going through spiritual attack immediately. And I've had nothing but spiritual attacks since that time. I've been working more on the book a lot more lately. And I have experiences, that's kind of the reason why I believe is I do not come from the same perspective of a lot of people in the paranormal field. Every haunting I know of or have dealt with or anything, I believe they're always demonic. If you have an infestation in a house, and I base that on my religious beliefs, but it's something happened and opened a door and let something really bad in. And when you do the research and you really look, I don't take something's word because it spells something out on a device or something and says that it is a ghost or it's somebody or whatever. You can't believe demons. Demons lie constantly. So
okay, let me interrupt you real quick, Patrick. Did anyone see that little thing that just flew over his shoulder?
I just had a little bug fly right.
Was that a bug?
Yeah, that's not paranormal. I just saw it.
scared the shit out of me. I was like, heck yeah, ratings.
Yeah, that's it.
See, the orb was with me on his last show.
Yeah, that was interesting. That was definitely interesting.
That was
But-
very interesting.
Yeah, I've had some really weird experiences while working on this book, and I know in my opinion, there's a concerted effort, spiritually speaking, to keep me from finishing the book. I have had I could write more and more books based on the things I've experienced since the time that I originally signed, a contract with one of the people their story is going to be shared in the book. It's been pretty crazy, to be honest. But again, I think the reason why is that these stories are horrific. The one story in particular, multiple stories. There's photographic evidence of things that cannot be explained. I've had photographers look at them. I've had people, so-called experts, and they're like, nope, that, even like the one pictures for the one house where there had been a suicide. I showed the pictures many years ago to, multiple so-called, paranormal experts, people in the field that are pretty knowledgeable, and they're going to say that's dust or whatever. And they're like, no, that's legit, and then, another case that I'm sharing, the pictures are absolutely horrific. I mean, and I have the negatives. These were taken with cameras and film back in the 1990s. They can't possibly have been faked. And
now you say horrific, Patrick. What do you mean? Can you describe them?
Demons in the pictures, and no question what you're seeing. It's not like, oh, there's a ducky and a horsey in the clouds. You see something that's not there. This is legit. It's 100% real. And it's horrific. But the problem is, the reason I believe I'm being attacked isn't just because I'm sharing that. It's because as I share these stories, I'm sharing the whole story. And, when you find out a Christian can take authority over that stuff and cast it out. Now, granted, there's steps involved. You need to find out why it's there, what was the legal right, and renounce it, things like that. But the bottom line is there's authority to deal with them. And you don't have to have a priest. You don't have to have a demonologist. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having a minister or somebody that is very good at identifying certain things, like a demonologist would be if they're good. But I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I'm saying, like, you don't necessarily have to have that. And I think that people that God's called to help others with these kind of situations are gifted in that way. So they kind of discern things anyway. But the stories are horrific. And then you see the authority. And, if you're Satan and you want the scary part told, you want people to be intimidated and in fear and all those things. You don't want them to understand the answer to the problem. So if somebody's sharing that answer, he wants to shut them down regardless of who that is. So I've had some really strange things lately, strange dreams, and like really strange dreams. Like,
can you talk about some of those, Patrick?
Yeah. Tell me if you ever had experience like this. I don't know. They're always like dreams about something demonic attacking me. And like a lot of times in the dreams, I'm trying to rebuke it, but it's very similar to a real life story that wasn't a dream in Nightmare in Holmes County, when I'm trying to, I'm sleeping in the dream here, but I'm trying to rebuke it and bind it in Jesus' name. And I can't get nothing to come out of my voice, my mouth. My voice won't come out, and I've had 3 separate times now in a short period of time where I had these dreams. And when I woke up, I'm laying in the same position every time when I have the dream. And as I look around the room, I can hear my eyeballs move.
Oh my God.
I've never heard of such a thing. You look to the right, and then you're like, what in the world? What is that? You're actually here. I never had anything like that ever. But again, as I'm working on the book more and putting in a lot of hours working on the book, the attacks escalate. If you read Nightmare in Holmes County and 225th Street, I share a lot of details, especially in 225th Street, of absolutely crazy paranormal activity that happened to me when I was writing the first edition of the book. I mean, stuff that just cannot be explained. just over the top paranormal and creepy. It was creepy. And I knew something's trying to stop me. But that's just kind of the nature of the beast. That's when you deal with this stuff, that's what you get to deal with, and a lot of, there's a lot of people in the church community that think that, oh, that's not true because you have authority over that. And it's like, well, you don't read your Bible very good. You probably read a watered down one too, but you don't read it very good, because the Apostle Paul was greater than I will ever be. And he had all kinds of attacks. He had attacks constantly. He was hindered from going back to visit a group of people. He wanted to visit them again and share more things with them. And he said Satan hindered him. It talks about the thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Satan that was sent to buffet him. And it talks about in the end times that Satan will throw the believers in jail. Satan will throw them in jail. So we are in a war. It's that simple. And that's really what the books are about, is warfare there. And it is real. But in a war, you get attacked. You're supposed to attack back, but you get attacked. And the other thing is, the Bible talks about the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but are mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. Okay. So right there, it says it, we are in a war and we have weapons, and they're not carnal weapons. They're spiritual weapons, and they're mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. You go into I'll give you an example. You deal with a person that's got demons, a person's demon possessed. And a lot of times that person, not a lot of times, if they got a demon, there's a legal right for it to be there. And there will be a legal right, and there will be like a stronghold. There's something the demon is using to basically try to keep itself there in their life. And they always say, I'm not leaving. I've been here too long. I've heard that a million times, not a million, literally, I'm saying,
yeah,
figure of speech, but I've heard that a lot. I've been here too long. I'm not leaving. It doesn't matter. You're still leaving, but you have that authority to pull down those strongholds, and you can renounce, you basically interrogate the demon. You find out why it's there. And a lot of times when the person sits down and talks to you, you'll figure it out before you even start casting them out. God will start showing you things. But you're pulling down that stronghold. When you're pulling that down, now that person can be delivered, And, the Bible talks about the keys of the kingdom. Jesus said, I've given you the keys to the kingdom, and whatever you bind on earth is bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth is loosed in heaven. So what that means, a lot of people in the church don't like what I say. Oh, he talks about binding demons, blah, blah, blah. They don't like it. It's like, yeah, because you don't read your Bible. You don't want anything to do with the keys to the kingdom, because Jesus said he's given us those keys, and those keys, because of him giving us those keys, we can bind and loose. So you can bind. And when you bind in Jesus' name, a demon, there's agreement in heaven with what you just did. And there's power and there's authority behind it. If you loose a person from bondage, from demonic possession, whatever, you loose them, there's agreement in heaven with what you just did. There's authority in that. So, I'm sorry, I'm skeptical of the Christians that go through life happy, clappy, and all days living on easy street, because that's not what I've experienced. And I know a lot of great Christians over the years that were very strong, and they had attacks, a lot of attacks, and the more they prayed, because they helped others with their prayers, and they were prayer warriors, they got attacked, and they accepted it. That's life. And I'm not going to back down, and that's the attitude we're supposed to have.
Yeah. Not to interrupt you, but you got to think, the more we are on the side of the world, we are more on the side of Satan.
That's right.
Because Satan is over the world right now.
That is right.
If you're doing his bidding and agreeing with everything that comes in front of your face, why is he going to mess with you?
But you know what? Here's what I think is sad. People that actually try to help others, that actually try to help others and do spiritual warfare, they can be attacked way more than they would have been, 50 years ago or something. And the reason why is I hate to say it. I wish it wasn't true, but it is true. The church has cooled off. The church is not on fire for God anymore. The church is about entertaining people. And so Satan's like, I got the church. They're no threat to me. They are no threat. Their prayers are weak. I own these people. I sit in the church and myself, and I'm not even, I'm talking, that's Satan sitting there saying, I'm not threatened by anything I heard here today. Means nothing to me.
Yeah.
And so the Satan can say, well, guess what? My forces aren't tied up fighting battles because all these strong churches and deep Christians praying and living right and fighting. So I'm just going to send all those extra troops I have to go attack this guy and that woman and this person over here. And I'm going to unleash a attack that I couldn't have done 50 years ago because I have the numbers to do it now, because the church isn't my enemy anymore. And exactly. I hate saying that, but it is the truth. And I'm not saying there's not good churches, but I'm saying overall, that is the state of the church today. And we're in the Laodicean church period, and that is a period that is lukewarm. Mm-hmm. They think they're on fire for God, but they're not, God said, I would rather you be lukewarm than, or he said, I would rather you be hot or cold than lukewarm. And he said, but because you're lukewarm, I will spew you out of my mouth. That makes God want to throw up. He's disgusted with it. And he would rather people either be cold or be hot for him. And the reason why, if somebody's cold, they might know that they might be like, man, I don't have that fire anymore. I need to get right. I'm going to have, I need to experience revival, and they can, light that fire again. But when they're lukewarm, they think they're okay. And it's not a good place.
It's like eating lukewarm soup. That's disgusting.
Exactly. You're right. That's exactly what it's like. But that is kind of, I know there's a lot of people in the churches that think I'm a fruitcake for what I've written about. Doesn't matter that I have tons of documentation to prove everything that I talk about, that I write in my books. I can prove it. I talked about, in 225th Street, I'm driving home one night in 2020. And I'm on the freeway, and it's about 1:45 in the morning, about 12:45 a.m. And I get right to where I'm almost right to the town. In fact, I am right to the town where 225th Street is. And I'm talking to my mom on the phone because I was tired and I didn't want to fall asleep. And I'm driving down the freeway, and there's no cars in front of me and there's no cars behind me. And all of a sudden, boom, I see this person or whatever it was standing in the middle of the freeway. It's all black. It has like crazy looking bushy hair. The clothes looked ratty, but I couldn't see like details. I couldn't see facial features. I saw like a silhouette, and it was black, and it's standing in a weird posture right in the middle of the freeway. So I'm thinking somebody's going to commit suicide. So I said, I got to go. I hung up and I called 911. And I reported it, and the state patrol responded, and the local police responded. Didn't find anything, didn't find anybody. Later, when I am talking to the chief of police in the town where 225th Street is, he said, I said, I'm the guy that called that in. There was somebody standing right there. I swear they were going to jump right in front of my car and commit suicide. And he said, there might be more to this than you realize. So he starts sharing more information. Turns out and it's even crazier since then, wreck after wreck after wreck happens in that spot. And I know of 2 cases. One was a full-on suicide. After that night that I saw that, about a month later, and I believe this was suicide as well, a guy got on the freeway south of that location, driving north in the southbound lane. He went a substantial distance, ended up hitting somebody right at that exit, hit him head on and killed both of them. How do you go that many miles without knowing? People were getting out of the way, calling 911. People going the other way were calling 911 because they could see what was happening. Then, later on after that, there was an individual who got in her car, probably a half an hour north of that location going on the freeway, drove south pulled off the freeway right at that exit and shot herself in the head and committed suicide. Okay, and there's wrecks there. There's fatal wrecks there. Okay, is that all coincidental? Is it? I don't know. It seems awful strange to me. But what I can prove is, I got the 911 call. I got the recording. I did report it. I have the police report from when I called it in and reported it, from the state patrol and from the local police. I can prove that I called and reported that. I can prove that there was a horrific traffic accident with 2 fatalities about a month later. I can prove that there was a suicide, around a year or so later, there was a suicide in the same exact spot. There have been accident after accident there. That's interesting to say the least, especially the suicides, considering 225th Street was haunted because of a suicide. So it's definitely interesting stuff, but I say a lot of things that, when you start investigating hauntings and things, there's dots that start connecting that are almost unbelievable. Like, okay, this is even crazier. It was so crazy in the first place. And then you have all this extra information that is obviously related to this. It's pretty mind-boggling, but it's very interesting. Again, there's things I will be sharing in Shadows and Light that it boggles my mind. I've seen just about everything and it still boggles my mind. But
yeah, now, Patrick, you talked at the beginning, one of the homes, there were, I believe you said, multiple deaths that were related. Can you talk about those? What happened? Were those suicides or what happened?
I'll give you an example. At 225th Street, there was an old guy who lived there. His family, he bought it, and his family lived there. And he attempted to murder his one stepson in the house. And that stepson was always antagonizing him. People in the town were scared of the stepson. They were like, this guy's, I had people there that aren't even Christian that came and talked to me, and they're like, that dude was possessed. He had this look in his eye. They would say these things. His own mother, who I became very good friends with, and that was one of the biggest blessings of that situation, was meeting her. She was an older lady who had experienced a lot of the same terrible things I did. And so we had a bond because we had been through a lot, but she told me that she thought he was possessed, but her husband tries to murder him in the house, and he's like 80 years old, and he pulls a revolver and shoots at him across the living room, just misses him and hits the fireplace. And the interesting part, he's 80 years old. He's going to have a shaky hand. He told people after that, he told the police, "Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to scare him," something to that effect. But he told the neighbors, he said, "The only thing I did wrong was missed." He really wanted to kill him.
Damn.
We had, then that old man died in the house, or he died. He collapsed while he lived there. He collapsed, and they rushed him to the hospital. Here he was bleeding internally, and he died. Then you had, after he died, the widow, her one other son moved into the house. His behavior changed. He started saying things that were uncharacteristic of him, very strange things that were very similar to very strange things that the gentleman who killed himself decades earlier, same kind of things he would say. And her son, his behavior, it changes, and he buys a motorcycle and he's riding it very dangerously. And she is, trying to talk sense to him. And she's like, "Look, you have to stop this. I don't want to be scraping you off the road someday." And he just laughs about it, Well, he ends up dying in a motorcycle accident while he's living there. Now, keep in mind, after he moved in, he said he would hear people walking in the attic at night. He would go upstairs. Now, another odd thing, the bedroom he chose was the same bedroom I chose, at the top of the stairs to the left of the bathroom. That's the same bedroom that the individual who killed himself slept in. And another family who lived there, after the family of the gentleman who killed himself decades later, the family that bought the house off of them, that was their bedroom. Lots of strange activity in that bedroom. But he was in that room. His alarm clock would go off for no reason. At times it was not set. He would hear people in the attic, just weird things, strange activity. And then he ends up dying in a motorcycle accident. And when I wrote the first edition, I felt like, I think it was like what I called it, and still could very well be the case. It was an intentional accident. Like, I don't think he wanted to kill himself, but that did cross my mind, because I got the crash reports from the state patrol, and I tracked down one of the witnesses. The other witnesses would not talk to me, but the people that were there with him that day, I talked to his girlfriend. She was there. I talked to one of the other gentlemen who was there. And he said, look, we warned him, you have to stop trying to ride wheelies. Your motorcycle's not equipped to do that. You have to have modifications made, or you're going to have a terrible accident. He had a very serious conversation. He drove down to the other end of the road. They were on a limited access road near Massillon, Ohio. And so it was safe to ride motorcycles there because it was limited access. There wasn't traffic. And he rode down to the other end of that road alone. They heard him rev his engine real hard, like he took off. And then they heard a loud crash. They all took off down there. They found him splattered. He was a mess. He made gurgling sounds for a few seconds, and then that was it. He died. He had been thrown so far off their motorcycle that a guy that was driving down the freeway that was adjacent to the limited access road stopped and went back and went down. And he said, "Is he okay? I saw him flying through the air. I was out on Route 30 and I saw him flying through the air." So I thought, okay, he didn't listen. They warned him and he died. And that is likely exactly how it happened. However, there is a possibility that he did listen to them and he drove down to the other end of the road and something else took over his motorcycle. Now that sounds crazy, except years later, the family that moved in after I lived there, and this is all in the book, their son had and they didn't want to hear it. I tried to warn them. We don't want to hear it. We don't believe in hauntings. I said, okay, that's fair. If you change your mind, let me know. I'll help you if I can. Because after I moved out, I was like, I think I know what needs to happen. It's pretty thorough. There needs to be a pretty big job to get rid of this. But I think it can be done. I just don't want to live here no matter what anymore. Every day I would be thinking about a suicide happening there. So I backed out of purchasing the house, and this other family bought it, and their son years later has a horrible motorcycle accident. Broke 21 bones, was thrown through the air, landed, thrown into a tree, just like the other guy. The other guy hit a tree on the bike and then was thrown and landed on boulders. But I've heard two versions to the story, and both of them are paranormal. I have a friend who's a reporter, and this woman is extremely smart, incredible memory. She's been a reporter for many, many, many years, and wonderful individual. And the story that the family told her when that accident happened was that the motorcycle took off on its own. He was sitting on it and it took off on its own, like full speed, and he crashed and it threw him. The story that they told me, knowing that I had warned them about the house and that, we know what you believe in. So I'm not going to tell you that same story. I'm going to tell you this version. And the version they told me was he went over a jump. He was on a dirt bike. He went over a jump, and midair, the throttle stuck wide open, which is still a freak accident, which is very strange. And when he landed, he was going full speed. He couldn't do anything about it. And he hit a tree and got thrown into a tree. Horrible situation. He almost died. He was almost paralyzed then. He was in very bad shape. How many coincidences do there need to be before it's no longer a coincidence? You have these two situations. And by all accounts, that accident with that motorcycle, something else was in control, not the person riding it.
Right.
The old woman whose son died in that motorcycle accident, she had another reason I suspect that it is possible that something else took over the motorcycle is because she told me one day she was driving down the street and she was near where the school was. and there was a little girl walking down the sidewalk, and her car jerked to the right, and it was like the steering wheel was locked and right towards the little girl that was walking to school. And she slammed on her brakes, and the little girl saw her coming and ran, but she got stopped. And she said it was the weirdest thing. She said, I was thinking, what in the world? I don't drive like this. She said the steering wheel felt like it was locked. So, I don't think that it's really a stretch to suspect. You got multiple cases where something else seems to have took over.
This is demonic, right? I mean, if you're taking over a person's faculties and controlling what they're able to do, I mean, this isn't a haunting. This isn't ghost. This isn't Casper.
No,
seeing a shadow person. This is something evil.
Well, I'll tell you the other strange part about this too is when I moved into 225th Street, I was there a short while, and I knew nothing at all about the history of the house. Nothing. I knew it was built in 1924, and that is it. I knew that I was buying it off of a realtor who bought it at a sheriff's sale, remodeled it, redid it, repainted everything, put down new carpet and all that, and was selling it. He was flipping it. That's all I knew. I came home one night. I went upstairs, went into the bedroom to the left of the bathroom at the top of the stairs. And I walk in, and my bed's sitting crooked. And I'm like, that's weird.
Yeah.
My bed wasn't sitting like that when I left. My cats can't move my bed. And then I was like, okay, you just moved out of Holmes County, and that house was haunted. Calm down. Don't freak yourself out. I'm sure there's a rational explanation. So I convinced myself that, I had a cousin that can do it just about anything. Very good handyman. He knows how to do, he's an electrician. He knows how to do all kinds of stuff. When I moved in, he started helping me with some things. And, I thought, well, he wired a satellite TV outlet in here when right away, as soon as I moved in. I bet he came up here when I was at work today. He was working on some things and he checked it or something. That's all it is. I'm sure I'll ask him tomorrow and he'll say, oh yeah, that was me. Sorry, I forgot to move your bed back. That's what I convinced myself was the problem. So I laid down in bed, and when I shut my eyes, it was like it was a vision. It was not real. It was not normal. It was not like the way it wasn't real life. Like I was actually suddenly now standing out there. I had a vision, and in the vision, it was like I was standing outside the bedroom door looking down the staircase. And everything, when you picture a memory, it's not crystal clear image, at least not for me. And it's not razor sharp definition with super vibrant colors. This is what I saw. It was like I was standing outside the bedroom door looking down the stairs, and there was a hooded figure coming up the stairs.
Oh, shit.
And what I mean is, it looked like a person with a black hooded cloak with the hood up. I could see the face, and it looked like an old man. He'd had the complexion of like a dead body in a casket. And he had a creepy grin on his face, and he was just like slowly coming up the stairs. And he was like looking down. He was kind of hunched over, and he was looking down, and he was grinning. And I opened my eyes, and I was like, what in the world was that? I'm not scared. I know my cousin was who moved my bed. So I'm not scared. Why would my mind be conjuring up these images? But, I'm in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, why is it conjuring up such crystal clear images as well? I shut my eyes, boom. It's like I'm standing outside the door looking down the stairs, and there's the hooded figure again. This happened like four times, I believe it was altogether. And I then said just a generic spiritual warfare prayer because I knew nothing about the history of the house. I just said, I renounce every sin that's happened in this house in Jesus' name. And I bind the demons and command you to leave, something to that effect, Well, I had the authority to bind them, and they would have to respond to being bound, but I didn't know why they were there. So casting them out, there was more that needed to be done before I could actually make them leave. But after I prayed that, I shut my eyes, the vision was gone, I fell asleep. I told 4 people that exact story, and I kept saying, I'm sure there's nothing to this, but this was kind of odd. Look, listen to what happened. So I told them the story, So I have 4 people that can back up what I'm saying. As I ended up finding out then later, there was a suicide in the house by the way, The night I had the vision was, and by all calculations that I could come up with, based on when I moved in, what I had going on at work at that time and everything, I believe wholeheartedly that was March 1st, 2010. Okay. I end up finding out later, oh yeah, by the way, there was a suicide in the basement in 1958. The guy that built the house killed himself. He was 68 years old. Turns out he looked just like the hooded figure. I had no idea anything about that. Now, it was also March 1st. So here's the thing, though. I don't believe that was him. I believe that was something that was there because he committed suicide, and something that was probably there driving him. You know, it was probably he was severely oppressed or possessed. There's a lot of things I share in the book that he definitely had issues. But, you know, later, before I had ever met the old woman whose son was killed in the house, we attempted an exorcism on the house. And I was very confident we're going to cast this out and I'll be okay. And when we attempted the exorcism, you know, the house felt like it just went bone chilling cold, you know, and I don't know, was it really that cold, or was it what Ed Warren referred to as a psychic cold? You feel it, but it's not really that cold. I don't know, but we all were freezing, and strange things began happening. And I'm standing. Now, here's the crazy part. I'm standing on the landing outside the bathroom door and that bedroom door at the top of the stairs. So I'm literally really standing right where I was standing when in that vision, where I felt like I was almost like teleported to when I had the vision of the hooded figure. But now I'm really standing there, and I'm praying, and I had my eyes shut, and I had a vision again. And this time the vision, I saw a guy, and I described him. He was about 30 years old. He was a little bit shorter than me. I'm 6'4". So he was around 6 feet tall, roughly. He had brown hair, medium build, and he had a white shirt on, and he came up in front of me and he stared me down like he hated me. And then he like spun and like disappeared in this weird motion, like going down the stairs, which were behind him. And I said out loud, I said, something just sized me up. And I knew what it was. It was demonic. And it was like looking at me like, do you have the faith to back up that prayer you're saying? That's what I knew was happening. And I specifically described it, you know, and I knew what it was doing. And, you know, we went to the basement then, and we went down and we started, you know, continued the exorcism, or the attempted exorcism. We put in a very valiant effort, and we had to come to grips with, it's not leaving. There's something I don't know about this haunting yet that I got to find out, because there's a legal right that I don't understand yet, you know? So there was a legal right for the demon to be there. And it was, I'm sure, more than one, that they had a right to be there. Well, as I keep tracking down the people that had lived in the house before me, I end up finding this dear old woman who I became friends with. And I'm telling her, you know, that experience. And she says, that is in the book, I changed his name to Michael. And she's like, that's him. That's him. That's exactly what he looked like. He was 30 years old. He was like 6 feet tall, medium build. That's exactly what he looked like. Do you think it was him? And I said, no, this wasn't him, but it made itself look like him. Demons have the ability to be doppelgangers. But here's the other weird part. I'm seeing this like in the spirit realm in my mind's eye through a gift of discernment and knowledge. You know, God gives everybody gifts, and with certain gifts, he will show you things or speak to you in certain ways that you will know things about the spirit realm that you wouldn't know otherwise. And he does that for our good, to protect us and so we can help others. But what in the world are the chances that, you know, I had two weird experiences with visions of demonic figures appearing as people that had lived there before me that I didn't even know about at that time. You know, I mean, it makes no sense, but they, you know, they will appear. And what I think, you know, a lot of people talk, and I can't remember the name of the theory. It's something tape theory. A lot of people in the paranormal field, and it's also called residual haunting. Do you know what I mean? There's a something tape theory.
I'm looking it up.
I can't remember the name, but a lot of people in the paranormal field, and I respect, okay, you're calling it a theory. That's cool, at least, because you're not saying it's fact. It's a theory. and it's interesting. But that view is that there's either like residual is a trapped energy, and it's neither good nor bad, and it just keeps replaying itself like a tape. My belief is that it is not that. My belief is that when demons have a right to be somewhere because somebody gave it to them, demons are extremely arrogant, and they will keep replaying what gave them a right to be there. They will keep, because they're arrogant, and most people will never figure out why they're doing it. They'll think, oh no, that's the ghost of so and so. No, they're replaying him and what he did or something related to him. That's why they're doing it, you know.
It's the stone tape theory.
There you go, stone tape theory. Yeah,
it's the speculation
theory. Yeah,
the speculation that ghosts and hauntings are analogous to tape recordings.
Yes, and I understand where they're coming from, and that's interesting. I respect that. Okay, at least you're calling it a theory. I have a different idea, but hey, if you're calling it a theory, I respect that, because you're not saying 100%, but you got an interesting take on it, you know. But I've seen it many times. Why would that replay? And I have the vision, and that my bed moved and all that weird stuff in that what used to be that guy's bedroom, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if he had his bed sitting at an angle. I don't know that, but it wouldn't surprise me. But him, and then the other guy that died, well, he had a terrible accident when he lived there. To me, they're replaying, why they're there, and they're proud of it. Hey, I made this guy die. I made this guy take his own life. And the other guy, either the demon made him take his life by being very unsafe, or they did it for him by causing the accident. Either way, it's terrible. But there was a reoccurring thing, and in the first edition of 225th Street, I said, I don't understand this, but it is a reoccurring thing in the house. And I put it in the book, and I didn't understand why. I think in the second edition, I finally figured it out. But there was always a reoccurring thing with water in the house. When I lived there, I just moved in, hadn't been there very long, and I'm there one day, and my cousin's like, I hear water running, and I hear my cousin, hey, come down here, Patrick, come here. And I come out of the office, I go downstairs, and it looks like it's raining in my living room. There's water just pouring out of the ceiling. And a pipe ended up breaking. That had all been redone. The pipes had all been redone. It broke, and a fitting just broke on a new fitting broke and was flooding my living room. When the family that lived there before me, they said that one day a pipe overhead, when you walk down the stairs into the basement, a pipe overhead broke. It was like somebody just broke it in half, and it was just flooding everywhere. And I said, was it cold? No, it was in the summer. One time when no one was living there, the lady that was going around in town, this is while the house was sitting vacant. The lady was going around checking meters, for the city, for people's electric bills. And she looks over at that house, and she's like, oh my goodness. And there was water pouring out the basement windows. Pipe in the basement broke, and it just so happened that the drain had gotten covered up with something. So the water didn't drain. It flooded the entire basement all the way, like almost to the ceiling. It was running out the basement windows. Just a reoccurring thing. All these weird stories of water over and over and over. And, when I wrote the second edition, this is what I came to. I was researching a lot more. I had the ability to research a lot more now on the gentleman who killed himself in the house. In the book, I changed his name to Francis Holmes. That's not his real name. But I started noticing everything talked about how he was a steam shovel operator. It was in the newspaper articles when he died. It was in the census information. It was in, other old records that I was able to find that I couldn't, wasn't able to find in 2010 and 2011. But I kept seeing over and over and over, it keeps mentioning his occupation, which was he was a steam shovel operator. What do steam shovels operate with? Massive amounts of water. And it's like, you know what? now I think that is the connection to water. Is he's the one who caused the haunting, and I think he did a lot of bad things that opened doors besides committing suicide. And I think some of those bad things caught up with him, and that's why he committed suicide there. And in the book, I go into a lot of details that I did not even know in 2010 and 2011 that are completely new, new clues that are very strange. But I think that was something related to him, and that's why what he worked with every day was massive amounts of water, because in a steam shovel operator, there was a furnace at the back of this big piece of equipment. And we're talking, this was a long time ago too. And they would constantly be firing up the furnace and burning massive amounts of water to produce the steam, produce the power to move the equipment. That's what it was called, a steam shovel. And I do believe that was the reason why, but another strange thing I mentioned in the first edition of 225th Street that I never understood why, but when I first moved into the house, and I didn't even know anything about it yet, I would be going around at night, locking all my doors and making sure they were locked before I went upstairs to bed. And as I would do that, and I would start to go up the staircase, I would have this overwhelming feeling that I was being watched.
Mm.
And I would stop and I would turn around and I would look over my shoulder and I'd look across the front living room. And this thought would always come to my mind. I feel like I'm in a funeral home after hours. And then I would specifically think, this reminds me of what it would be like to be in Lynn Hurt-Geib funeral home after hours. Lynn Hurt-Geib's a very nice family-owned funeral home, local to me, and wonderful people that own it. But I've had a lot of my loved ones, when they passed away, funerals were there and that, so I'm very familiar with it. And I would always think, this reminds me of what it would feel like to be in there after hours, which would be creepy,
Mm-hmm.
And I put that in the book, and I didn't understand it. The other strange part was like, there would be a weird feeling that I experienced it. And my mom then told me later she experienced it, but like you'd be laying down and you almost just felt like you were in a coffin, and you would start to smell dirt. Like the smell of like soil. And I'm like, where's that coming from? Where in the world is that smell coming from? And I always thought that was strange. But when I researched again, and I had made contact with this dear lady that I'm friends with, it's the reporter, and very, very knowledgeable about that area. And many things, she has shared some awesome information with me. But one of the things I found out, back in 1958, there was not a local ambulance company. So when there was an accident or a death or a suicide or whatever, who they called that came and took the person to the hospital or wherever they needed to go was the local funeral home. So the local funeral home, the day he shoots himself, so here's the crazy part. He shoots himself in the morning. The family finds him. They're like, oh, he's dead. He shot himself. He's laying down there in the root cellar. And they called the sheriff's department and they said, yeah, he shot himself. He's dead in the basement. So later the deputy shows up, and Deputy Bainter was his real name. I don't see any harm in saying his real name, but he shows up and he goes down. Yep, he's dead. All right. And he comes back up and he contacts the coroner, and the coroner comes to the house. So now, like, all this time is passing. He's laying down there in the basement, like hour and a half has gone by, if not longer. And the coroner comes and goes down and says, he's not dead. His heart's still beating. So we got to call and get him to the hospital right away. He ended up dying. But who came and took him out of the basement was the local funeral home, and they put him in a hearse and took him to the hospital. I would venture to say,
do you know if he shot himself in the head, Patrick?
Yep. He shot himself in the head, right side of the head with a hunting rifle.
Oh my God.
So that's one of the reasons that I believe the house, I was not able to get rid of the demons. And I fact checked this with so many people. Bill Bean You know, I'm sure you guys know who that is. I talked to him about it and I said, does this make sense to you? Because this is what I think. What I found out, you know, eventually I was like, you know, the exorcism didn't work. I'm missing something. There's a clue that I don't know yet. Well, I eventually found out that he shot himself in the root cellar. So I go downstairs and I'm going to the root cellar and I'm looking around. I'm like, there's got to be some clue. I'm like looking around the room. There's some clue here that I haven't found yet. And I look down at the floor and I'm like, and there it is. There was a blood stain. His blood was staining the brick floor of the root cellar.
From how long? How long had it passed?
Since 1958.
Holy shit. And you found it?
Yep. And think of this, though. Most of the people that moved in, they were never told there was suicide. They were never told anything. They found out after they started having things happen, somebody else would tell them, but nobody else did. And they really didn't go looking for blood. I didn't until, you know, from my perspective of somebody that's done some exorcism, I had a different perspective. So I'm looking for a clue, and that's why I found it. Otherwise, you'd get down there and you'd see it and you'd just see bricks on the floor in the root cellar. That's what the floor was, the bricks laid down over dirt, whatever. You wouldn't really think about it, you know?
Well, and you gotta think too how prominent blood is as far as this goes. You have the blood of Jesus.
Yep.
What do they use when they do sacrificial killings? They use the blood. Everything is buried in the blood.
And think of this. The Bible says the life is in the blood. Our blood is what gives us life. Okay. Jesus's blood is what gives us eternal life. Okay. So, but here's the thing. This guy shed his own blood on that floor, and it was soaked in. Now think about this. He laid there with a gunshot wound to the head, which head wounds bleed. Gunshot wound to the head and a beating heart, and laid there for at least an hour and a half, bleeding all over the floor before they got him out of there. Now, when they rushed him to the hospital, I'm sure none of the family members were like, you guys go on ahead. I'll stay back and clean up the blood. You know, they come back, it's a dried mess. And that's that, you know. And it was only because I was like desperately looking for clues that I actually found it, you know. But that's how, and I believe that the demon was attached to that. He shed his blood, it's attached to it. Not to mention, I still believe that he had opened some pretty bad doors already anyway. And I go into details why. I think people will be able to connect the dots when they read it. But, you know, I think that it is, you know, he had done some pretty bad stuff. And I think that, you know, it was starting to come to light, and that's why he did it. That's my opinion. And I think I can support that pretty well. But
and when you have the situation as an abandoned house, and then finding out, you know, there is a draw here coming from the root cellar. There's already something infesting the house just from his remnants. Yes. I mean, it's and then you have the abandoned house. I mean, everything's going to swarm there.
I'm telling you, it is funny because I did even mention there that it seems like at times it would leave and come back. Like it's there's people around that house that have haunting activity or have had haunting activity in their houses. Mm-hmm. And there's a reason why I believe, and I kind of hint towards that in the book, but I have a very strong reason why I believe that. But you know, isn't it funny then that I'm driving by right past that town on the freeway and boom, there's this thing in the middle of the road. And I don't believe what I saw was a person. Now, call me crazy. That's fine. But explain why they didn't find anybody when the police and state patrol responded. Explain why coincidentally then later there's deaths and terrible accidents right there. Suicide right there. You know, how many coincidences do you have to see before it's no longer a coincidence? That's the thing.
Exactly.
You know?
Right. You're exactly right.
Exactly.
All right, let's if you don't mind, Patrick, let's jump to some of these questions. We've got a few questions, couple comments. Mm-hmm. Let's get to those. First one is from Alex, my good buddy Alex. Please explain how it's always demonic and not just a ghost.
Okay. Here's my perspective on this. Okay. Number one, The Bible is very clear that when you die, you're either going to heaven or you're going to hell. There's nothing in the Bible that says we stay and haunt a place. A lot of people in the paranormal, well, they died, but like they're just sticking around here right now. They didn't go to the light yet. They didn't decide, whatever. Like what? God doesn't know they died, and he didn't judge them because he didn't know. The Bible says that if a sparrow, God is so loving that if a sparrow falls to the ground, if a sparrow dies, God knows it. God cares about even the sparrows. So he's not oblivious to anything. So number one, my belief is that when we die, we go to heaven or hell. However, I think your chances of seeing a ghost are going to be more like if the person just passed. I think that could happen. And the reason I've believed that is that would be a special circumstance. But I know I've interviewed on my podcast, I've interviewed people that had, near-death experiences. They actually were dead and they were revived and brought back, and they left their body and they were right there and they saw their body laying there and things like that. So I do think in those situations, you could potentially maybe in a unique situation, see a ghost. But I will say that demons can appear as anything. They are very powerful. They're fallen angels. And again, I differ from a lot of people in the so-called Christian community as well, because I stick with the biblical view, and demons are fallen angels. They're extremely powerful. They are in rank and authority. The ones we deal with in hauntings are extremely powerful. Now, the ones that are principalities, which are over entire regions of the earth, are way more powerful, but they're all powerful. And they can appear as all kinds of things. In my books, I share, doppelgangers that I saw or other people saw. That one guy swore it was me. It was not me. So they can appear. They have the ability to do that. The other thing I will say, though, it's funny. Sometimes I'll watch some of the paranormal stuff because I do find it interesting. But a lot of times, like Project Fear, I like those people. I like them, the brother and sister and the two guys, and I watch that occasionally, but I'm like, man, you guys are dealing with something you don't know what you're dealing with. And I feel like they're starting to see that, because like the last few episodes, they were like originally it was more like they have this equipment and it gives the spirit something to communicate through. And they're like, why, who are you? What's your name? And it'll say devil, it'll say demon. And they'll be like, well, it's Satan. I don't believe it, though. I think it's still a human spirit that's lying to us. Okay. Number one, demons do lie constantly. But when that spirit says, I'm Joe Blow, I'm whoever, I'm Uncle whoever. If you acknowledge there's demons, which I think everybody acknowledges that, they lie all the time. So if you're talking to a spirit, even if you don't believe my view of what I fully believe the Bible teaches, but isn't it kind of dangerous that you're contacting a spirit and you're talking to a spirit and there are such a thing as demons, and you're just going to take something that's supernatural and communicating with you and you're going to take its word? That's dangerous. The other, how many times do they appear as children? Oh, it's a child. And even Zach Bagans, I think he plays a dangerous game. He deliberately conjures things so he will get results for his TV show. That is very, very dangerous. But he knows right and wrong. I know he does, because I've heard him say enough that I know he knows what's true and what's right. I know he does. But he will say, when they act like it's a child, don't believe them. It's not. It's a demon. And he believes in ghosts, but he still says, when they act like a child, do not believe them. And here's the bottom line. Even from that perspective, children all go to heaven. They're innocent until you're the age of accountability, where God says, okay, you're answering for yourself now. You've hit an age where you know right from wrong, and you are accountable. Before that, children all go to heaven. So why would God make them stay here on earth, trapped in a house or in a insane asylum or something like that? That doesn't happen.
Well, it comes up to familiar spirits.
Yes. Demons know all this stuff because they've been around forever. I will tell you, one of the stories I'm writing about in Shadows and Light, It's a house where this wonderful family, and again, the best part about what I've gone through and writing the books and things I've been through, the best part is the people you meet that you would have never met otherwise. But I met this family, and they are in Ohio, and I conceal their identity. I'd be out of respect to them. They've been through a lot. But, their house was over the top haunted. Multiple paranormal groups came in and told them it was ghosts and not to worry. It's just ghosts. And they contacted TAPS, which was ghost hunters. They referred them to another group, and they came in. Oh, it's haunted, all right, but it's that old woman that died here. It's her. Don't worry about it. And I go in, and in the book, I'm very detailed on my dialogue when I went in, because I have video recordings and I have audio recordings. And I went in, and one of the family members had a fatal disease. They were going to die. And I was like, I believe that this disease came from a demon. Now, not every disease comes from a demon. Not every disease is demonic, but some can be. And I went in, and I was so disgusted because I met this family. I talked to them for several weeks leading up to us actually going to the house. And I was like, these people are awesome people. They're wonderful people. They don't deserve this. And I went in there, and I put down in detail, and it might seem redundant when you read it, but there is a very specific reason, because I'm showing you how to deal with this stuff. And I'm showing you, my mindset when I went in there. I walked around that entire house, and I had a recorder with me, and I said, I'm not here to talk to ghosts. I'm not here to play games. I'm here to cast you out, and you are going to hell where you belong. You've tormented this family enough. Today, you are leaving. This is the end of it. Oh, it's scary that you floated around as orbs or appeared as a little girl or whatever before when the paranormal groups were here, or you cussed them out in EVPs, but I'm not here to get any of that. I'm here to deal with you once and for all. And I walked throughout the house. I repeated that everywhere I went. I went outside the property. I went into the garage, even where there had been activity. And shortly thereafter, you could tell it was targeting me. Stuff started happening. But guess what? The bottom line was I was correct. It was not a ghost. It was demons. And that individual who would have been dead a long time ago, this was clear back in 2014, is still alive to this day.
Wow.
Had they listened to the paranormal groups, and the paranormal groups went in, they got a lot of entertainment. They got EVPs. Oh, hey, I got this on camera, blah, blah, blah. What did you do to help the family? You believed all the doctrine, because that's what it is, the doctrine of the paranormal community that is diabolically opposed to biblical doctrine. And you offered no real assistance. I'll give you credit where it's due, and you did get evidence it's haunted, and I respect that, and that is good. But the bottom line is I went in with a completely different perspective. And the thing is, I'm nobody. I work, yes, I've written books because I felt I was supposed to. I work my butt off in a regular job, work very hard. I'm not anybody special, but I believe in Jesus. And I believe that in, the book of Mark, the Gospel of Mark, chapter 16, verse 17, it says very clear that Jesus, he says he's given the Great Commission. So this is right before he goes back to heaven after he was crucified and was resurrected, performed all kinds of miracles during the time between him being resurrected and when he went back to heaven. Okay. The time that he ascended to heaven. Okay. But he's given these final instructions. Okay. So this is important. And he said, go to the ends of the earth and preach the gospel to every creature. And he said, to those who believe and are baptized shall be saved, but those who believe not shall be damned. And that's in the King James English. I'm not swearing. That means condemned to hell. And he said, these signs shall follow those who believe. In my name, the first sign, in my name, they shall cast out devils. He also talks about healing the sick. They'll heal the sick. Okay. Now, again, I'm Joe Nobody. I'm not a special person. I'm not a person with a degree in theology or anything like that. Okay. But I believe in Jesus. I've been baptized. And I was able to in his name, cast the demons out of that house, out of the individual that had them. And through that, he was healed. And that's not tooting my own horn. That's all about Jesus, not me. But the reason I get attacked for what I write in the books is because what I just said is a threat to Satan. Because guess what? That means if I believe in Jesus and I can do that, so can anybody else. Most people aren't willing to, or their pastor has told them that stuff doesn't happen nowadays. But if you look around the world, you'll see the world is very evil. And we are living in perilous times, and anybody who trusts Jesus, you trust in him, and you turn from your sins and believe him. And the whole thing about baptism, that's an outward showing that you believe in Jesus and you're following him. That's why people get baptized. It's symbolic of your sins being washed away. You go under the water, you come up a new creation, but the actual salvation happens when you put all your faith and hope in him, but that is why I have weird attacks, and I have weird attacks because of what I write about and what I share, and it's not easy, it's not fun, dealing with the paranormal sometimes and experiencing it, because I find this stuff very interesting, like a lot of people in the paranormal community do. They find it fascinating. It is. But going through the attacks actually are not fun. And the way Satan attacks, he will attack through the paranormal. He will attack through sickness and disease. And he will attack through people that are not submitted to the lordship of Jesus Christ. So people that are not saved, or people who maybe they got saved, but they're just not walking right. And they're not really, they need to step up in their sanctification with, and get closer to God. But those people too, sometimes they can be used because they don't know any better, but if they're, when people that are sanctified believers, they're not going to be used against you, but people that aren't, and people who deliberately follow things they know are evil, they will be pawns to be used against those who trying to do what's right.
Yeah. All right, Patrick, tell everybody where they can find your books, buddy.
At Amazon.com. Both are, again, 220 Fifth Street and Nightmare in Holmes County. They are accounts of my real experiences. And soon there will be Shadows and Light Volume 1 will be released soon. And I think that, Paranormal Odyssey, religion isn't man-made. Okay, I got you. Relationship with Jesus is what we need. You are right. Paranormal Odyssey, I agree with what you just said. And pure religion, undefiled before God. You know what that is? The Bible says a pure religion instead of man-made religion. Pure religion, undefiled before God, is what? It is that we visit the fatherless and the widows in their affliction, and that we keep ourselves unspotted from the world. So what that means is pure religion means charitable acts to those who need it. And holiness. We do our best to live the way God called us to. If we're not perfect. If you blow it, if you screw up, you say, Jesus, forgive me, and that's a lifelong thing. Sometimes we have the wrong attitude, or we blow it, whatever. You repent and you keep going. You get up and you dust yourself off and you keep following him. But Paranormal Odyssey, I agree with what you said. You are right. But both books are available at Amazon.com, and they share my real life experiences. And when you read them, they're going to tell you what I went through. But my goal isn't just to share that. It is to help you so you have an understanding. You have a biblical view of this. So if you need to go get deliverance or you need help, you're going to understand it, and you're going to be able to help yourself or help others. And that's why I wrote them the way I wrote them. There's a lot of information in there because of that.
All right. Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Thank you so very much, Patrick, for taking the time to come and hang out. Always good stuff, buddy. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me on.
Wish you continued support, or continued, you know what I mean.
Yes, I know exactly. Yes. Thank you so much.
And if you ever need to talk, my messenger.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. I've enjoyed the chit chats we've had about spiritual things in the paranormal. We've had some interesting conversations, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, we have.
Awesome.
All right, You enjoy the rest of your evening, buddy. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you. God bless you.
No.
Thank you.
All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Glad to have Patrick back. Just so much information when he comes on. It's awesome. Really good stuff.
Well, it's in depth and it really makes you think, and it really puts things into perspective. I mean, it's like you said, the world is wicked. It's it's
It
playing
is. All that stuff is just creepy as hell.
out.
Man, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. There's some weird stuff going on that we just don't know about, and there are people out there that are experiencing this stuff, and I'm just so thankful that I'm not one of them, because this stuff creeps me right the hell out. I'll just continue to go out in the woods at night and look for Bigfoot. Everybody else can mess with the ghost stuff. I'll mess with the big hairy guy out in the woods.
Well, you be the Bigfoot guy, and I'll just be Miss Lady Paranormal, and
God, Lady Paranormal. Screw that, man. I've said it so many times. I'm so terrified that something will come home with me. Everybody tells me not, just say a prayer and don't let it come home with you. Man, that's so much easier said than done.
Well, and it's like David said when I had them on from NC Squatch Watchers, I mean, they dabbled in it, but they didn't dabble in it long.
Yeah.
It's dangerous stuff. They talked to the dark and the dark talked back, and they left the conversation.
Yeah. Chris Milner again. Thank you, Patrick. Very, very good stuff. All right. What we got next, Tiffany? Who's up next?
We have the Vogel brothers for their part 2 on Tuesday at 8 o'clock. So you guys definitely come back for that, for sure.
Yep. Very good. Very good. You got anything before we get out of here?
I don't think so. Just have a
good
night.
All right, then.
Coming in.
All right, everybody. Thank y'all so very much for tuning in, hanging out with us. We appreciate it greatly. Y'all take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll see you next time. Bye.